Did Arizona basketball finally turn the corner against Oregon? There's a lot of hopeful signs.
You are Locked On Wildcats, your daily podcast on the Arizona Wildcats, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On Wildcats your first listen of the day. Your one-stop shop for everything. Locked On Wildcats. This show is also brought to you by FanDuel. Check it out. All right, now, the question is, Arizona basketball. Everybody knows how talented this squad is. I'm not breaking any news to you. You know, if you got eyes, you know that this team has a lot of talent. And not only does it have a lot of talent, it's got a lot of players that fit a variety of different roles. Now, the first thing is that I think is frustrating to so many people is that, let's be honest, Arizona should be not losing to Stanford, to Washington State, and to Oregon State. And then you go, and then before that, you beat Duke, you beat Michigan State, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You get it. But so there's just this wild inconsistency. And if it wasn't, and if there wasn't for that, you know, I wouldn't really care that much. If Arizona really wasn't that good, it's just kind of, it is what it is. You know, it's like, all right, cool. You know, we're just not that good, or, you know, it's just not that good of a team. We've seen teams that just weren't that good, and you just kind of go with the flow. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with that. But I think where so many people, including myself, are frustrated is we all know that this is a really, really good team. Again, you don't go into Cameron Indoor Stadium and beat a team. And let's be honest, you were up the majority of that game. You kind of controlled that game. You also don't destroy a Wisconsin team. Granted, they're from the overrated Big Ten. I get it. But you also don't destroy a Wisconsin team. I can keep using a lot of examples. You get the point. You get the gist. And then go back and you lose to Washington State, Stanford, Oregon State. Now, again, some of them, the Stanford game, I can kind of wrap my head around just a little bit because, again, when you shoot 19 for 13 from three-point range, you're going to lose some you're just going to lose some games. That's just going to be that way that one is against a team like that. Now, granted, Arizona didn't do themselves any favors by leaving guys open. Stop leaving good shooters open. I do not understand why this happens, and it continuously happens. It annoys me a great deal. Now, the other thing, too, that I think is also imperative to talk about is you got to get up for every single game. Our guy, Brian J. Peterson from AZ Desert Swarm, put out a good stat that Arizona's 13-1 in arenas where there's more than 9,000 people. Now, that also shows me, too, that there's a lack of want to at certain points, and that just can't happen. It just can't happen. Which leads us to Oregon. Obviously, everybody knows about the terrible court. I think Oregon's probably the second best team in the conference behind Arizona. And a lot of people were going into this game saying, well, Arizona doesn't have much of a chance there. And Arizona, this was the most complete effort from this squad in months. And honestly, across the board, it was a complete spot. Everybody contributed, but more so than anything, Arizona was ready. It was like they were motivated. It was like they knew that people were doubting them, and they came out there and they took care of business. Again, this is an Oregon team that by the end of the year, I think is going to be a big problem. When we previewed the game before, and Folly Dante is about as good a big man as there is in or probably the best big man there is in the conference. They're getting Biddle back. You got Kuznard. You got the point guard. Why am I drawing a total blank on his name? Same high school as Peyton Pritchard. Jackson Shellstad, excuse me. So they've got good players. I can keep naming some more, and they're going to get healthy. And I think by the time NCAA rolls around, you're not going to want to play them in March. I would assume anyways. But That being said, Arizona was ready for them. They came out and it was a complete team effort. We need to see more of those complete team efforts. What I also was very impressed by was that this squad clearly knew that, man, it's time to get serious. And again, we're going to break down player by player, but I think so much of this team is just being ready for the moment. And if they're ready for the moment, then I think they're going to be a very difficult team to beat. I mean, I'm on record many times saying that Arizona's upside, I believe, is the highest of any team in the country. But again, you can't sleepwalk. And a big part of it, too, is that there's games where it just doesn't look like they care. I get, the Washington State game. I get that there's some, extraneous circumstances. I get all of that. But at the end of the day, you're still on the same court as a crummy team. And I know that there's it's 4 degrees outside. I get all of that. Totally understand. At the end of the day, you got to win that game. Kind of the same thing, like I said, with Washington State, et cetera, et cetera. I'm fine with one loss that you shouldn't lose. You shouldn't be losing a ton of different games where it's like, all right, what's going on here? That is my problem. So again, hopefully this was a little bit of a turning of the corner. Now, again, Tommy Lloyd talked about it after the Oregon State game. He said, listen, he's like, we got to start taking things more seriously. But we're also just going to keep grinding and doing what we do. Those to me were kind of hollow words, but they ended up, obviously the team, there was a fire underneath that team. And I think what was surprising about the Oregon State game is that there wasn't a fire. KJ Lewis had talked before the game and said, we know that we can't take, these type of teams for granted anymore. Maybe we were taking these teams for granted. We can't do that anymore. And lo and behold, it actually, it came out and it worked that way. Arizona certainly took Oregon seriously, but I guess my main concern is it shouldn't take just a good team for Arizona to take seriously. Arizona should be able to go out and be able to man up against any team they play. Because again, it's not like you're the 2016-17 Warriors where you're better than the rest of the league combined. You're not that. So you need to be able to, I think you need to basically be in that mold where you can you go into every single game knowing we could lose this game, and you got to be able to play hard. And if you play hard, if you play with that Caleb Love type effort, you're going to there's definitely going to be you're definitely going to get a lot of wins, because like I said, this team's margin for error when they're playing hard is immense, because again, you've got a lot of talent across the board. You don't have a lot of flaws on the team. I mean, you do have some, obviously, but it's college basketball in 23-24. You don't have a ton of flaws. So that just kind of is what it is now. But again, the effort is one thing that effort is one thing that I can't look past. As long as that effort is there, then this team's going to do a lot, and this team's going to go far come March. So again, Arizona's got to be able to bring that. Now, one player that was very much of a lightning rod when people were talking about the addition was Caleb Love. Well, Caleb Love has turned into an absolute superstar, and he is going to push this team as far as they can go. But first, FanDuel. Check it out, FanDuel.com/locked on. All right, all kinds of good offers right now with FanDuel. All kinds of good offers with FanDuel today. And you got like I said, you got a really good deal. You can go on there, and like I said, check it out. FanDuel.com/locked on, my friends. Again, put down some money, get a nice little payback. Check it out. Terms and restrictions apply. But remember, this is the time of the year. The Super Bowl's up. Not only is the Super Bowl here, but you also got the NBA. You got college basketball. You got a plethora of different options. Check it out. FanDuel.com/locked on. Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats and making this your first listen of the day. I am your host, Mike Luke. All right, now let's talk a little bit about Caleb Love. What's going on with Caleb Love? All right, I thought before the year, now listen, I'm wrong on most things, but I thought before the year that adding Caleb Love was an absolute no-brainer. And not only did I think that it was an absolute no-brainer, I also thought that I didn't understand the pushback to it, because listen, if Caleb Love comes in here and shoots 55 times per game and shoots 10% from the field, well, guess what? Tommy Lloyd's not going to play him. Duh. I mean, so I didn't understand that. And honestly, I know that they're playing better basketball now. I also don't think that Hubert Davis is a very good offensive coach. You watch those teams and you just can kind of tell that it's like, all right, yeah, not good. Pick and roll, screener way, pick and roll, high pick and roll. So again, that's not where, if Caleb Love has everybody just staring there watching him, then he's probably not going to be as good. He's probably not going to shoot as high a percentage, but Tommy Lloyd has used him in a drastically different way. And again, it's not like it's perfect. It's not like Caleb Love is perfect. There's still too many 8 for 25 games. But what I love about Caleb Love is that when the chips are down, Caleb Love is that dude that you want with the ball looking to make that play. Caleb Love is just that guy. I think what's impressive about Caleb Love as well is that this is another guy that just embraces the moment. And I think by embraces the moment, you just know that, all right, he's going to not only embrace the moment, but he's going to be that dude that again, at the end of the game, when the ball is needs to be shot, it's going to be Caleb Love. And I think one thing that we do need to keep an eye on too is that's a very unique quality. I think listen. A lot of guys say, well, everybody in basketball says, oh, I want the ball at the end of the game. And when it comes down to it, there's a guy over there who probably looks like a better option. That happens all the time in basketball. Caleb Love wants the basketball. So that is another thing that is very, very good about him. And quite frankly, he's been very, very good he's been very good in these moments. Not only has he been very good in these moments, like I said, he delivers. And there's, like I said, even the shots that don't go in, like the one against FAU, you could tell, you're like, all right, that was almost in. That's where Caleb Love is different. And not only that's where Caleb Love is different, everybody kind of feeds off that. Now, some people say, well, this team gets caught just kind of watching Caleb Love. Fair enough. If that's the case, which I don't totally agree with, but there is definitely some merit to that, then Arizona needs to rectify that. But that's also not a Caleb Love issue. That's a Tommy Lloyd issue, and that's a roster issue. If you're just standing around watching somebody, you need to know that you got to move. And one thing that I think we've seen about Caleb Love is while he is while he's definitely looking to get his own shots, he is a willing passer. He's had games where he's had, when the shot isn't falling, where he's had 5-6 assists. But he's also the best player, I think, in the conference. I think that's hard to argue. If the conference was over today, Caleb Love would be your conference player of the year, in my opinion. And again, he just stresses the defense in so many ways that it's hard to really quantify. And again, I also like it too when he gets going and when he attacks the basket. I really like that because I think he's a guy that, man, when he attacks the basket, he's a handful. And he's confident doing it. And not only is he confident doing it, he's also the dude who he's also the guy who, embraces it. If he's going to go to the line, if he's going to drive to the basket and get fouled, so be it. But he wants those. And again, how many times in close games has he just been that guy that has just brought everything back? I'm here for the entire Caleb Love experience, good, bad, and different. I am here for all of it. All right. Now, the guy that Arizona really needed to get going, Kylan Boswell. Again, it's not like he broke out and he had 35 points, but Kylan Boswell also played much better basketball. Listen, I've said this a million times. I'm going to keep saying it. We don't need Kylan Boswell to be an All-American. All I need him to be is kind of a fringe all-conference player. And honestly, there's absolutely no reason why he can't be a fringe all-conference player. He is we've seen it. Against Duke, he looked like the best player on the court. He was a top 20 prospect for a reason. We've seen games from him where he just looked He looked like a pro. That's the best way I can put it. He looked like a pro. We need that out of Kylan Boswell. Not only do we need that out of Kylan Boswell, we need a lot more of that out of Kylan Boswell. My biggest problem with him, it was the passiveness he's playing with. I don't, like I said, I think with Boswell, all I need from Kylan Boswell is if you're open, take that shot. And if that means you go 0 of 12, that means that you go 0 of 12. Cool, whatever. Because again, everybody knows that he can shoot. The percentages are there, or the percentages have been there. We've seen it in the past. He's just got to be able to just play better basketball. And I don't think that there's any reason why he can't. I mean, like I said, he's a tough dude. He can get downhill. He can hit the step back. He's got that little James Harden thing going as well. And he can get into the paint. But again, if you're open for three, take the shot. Don't dribble it in once and then take a contested mid-range shot. Just show the confidence. I mean, he had to play against Oregon where he was rising up for three, and then he's lucky he didn't get called for a travel because he jumped in the air and then he came down and then passed it. That kind of stuff just can't, again, just shoot the ball. If you're going to miss it, you're going to miss it. We'll live with it. It'll be all right. But Arizona needs something like, there's no reason that he shouldn't be able to be 12, 5, and 4. Something like that. Again, I don't need him to be Mike Bibby. I'm going to keep saying that. But we need him to be good. We need him to be solid. We need him to be a somewhat of a difference maker. And if he's somewhat of a difference maker, then Arizona is going to be in very, very good shape. Between him and Jaden Bradley, Bradley's also a different dude. Bradley also doesn't have as much offensive talent, but Bradley defensively is very pesky. And I think that he's a year away from being able to average about 11 points per game. But that's a good enough two-headed duo right there if they're both playing well, because again, they both have qualities to them, and they both have the ability to be able to make plays happen. And again, that's what, if these guys weren't good, if they weren't capable of it, then I wouldn't care. I would just be like, guys, we got to live with it. It is what it is. But they are good. They are capable. We know that they can do that. And that's where I think the Arizona fans need to have some higher expectations for him. And honestly, Boswell should himself. Boswell wants to play in the NBA. His camp has not been, secretive about that. And they wanted to be there in the NBA by next year. I don't think that probably is going to happen, but there's a reason that they had realistic NBA expectations. Is because he's good. It's because he can play. So again, we need more out of Kylan Boswell, and I believe that Kylan Boswell is more than capable of performing that way. Now, let's look to the front court then coming up next. Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats, making this your first listen of the day. I am your host, Mike Luke. All right, now let's talk the front court. All right, here's where I'm at. Oumar Ballo, leader of men. Oumar Ballo is a solid basketball player. You're never going to watch Oumar Ballo and say he's, that he can't contribute, because he can. But Oumar, we also know at this stage, is very limited in what he can do. If he against any form of length, Oumar Ballo, leader of men, is not going to be able to finish. We've seen that time and time again. He has some good games. He also has no post moves. I don't know why Arizona continues to try to force feed him the ball down low. That ball is not going anywhere. Stop doing that. But like I said, he can play. But this is exactly who he will be in 10 years as well. You could put Oumar Ballo, leader of men, in as a 30-year-old here at Arizona, and he would be the exact same player that he has shown. And again, and I think the thing that's a little bit frustrating is he's clearly not in great shape. He's definitely carrying a little bit too much weight. That is frustrating. You would think a guy that was going to be a senior or is a senior would, maybe not have that issue, but he definitely has had that issue. So that's obviously not ideal. That's not ideal either. But be that as it may, he's useful, but I do like seeing more Krivas, because Krivas next year has a much higher upside than Oumar Ballo, because Krivas you can dump the ball down to. And not only can you dump the ball down to him, but he can also finish. He got the hook either way. He can finish. He's just got more natural basketball skills than Oumar. And again, that's not a slight towards Oumar. That just is what it is. But he's got more natural basketball skills than Oumar Ballo. Now when it comes to the Keyshawn Johnson, I'll be honest, Keyshawn's good. I'm glad Keyshawn's on the team. I'm also been a little bit disappointed in Keyshawn because I thought he was going to be this energy, hustle, kind of balls to the wall type guy. And while he's good, he's not really been that. There's been games where you just haven't really noticed Keyshawn. And for a guy who's supposed to be an energy player, that's a little disappointing. Like I said, I thought that, he would be something like 14-8 just by running the court. Well, he doesn't really run the court. Again, he's good. Don't get me wrong. He's good. I'm glad he's on the team, but he doesn't run the court or he just doesn't have the hustle and the motor factor that I guess I figured that he was going to have. And, maybe that's on me or on other people for thinking that, but either way, I thought that he would be a little bit better. Again, he's good. I'm definitely glad that he's on the team. Definitely glad that he's here. But I thought he would I thought his motor was a little bit higher than he showed so far. But again, maybe that's on me. But looking forward though, you got obviously the Bay Area schools. You got to be able to blast these two teams. These teams stink. You're in McHale. Again, there'll be more than 9,000 people there. So you should be able to win that game. Not only should you be able to win that game, you should be able to win that game going away. Again, you got to be able to win that because if you can win that, you can start to really not put a stranglehold by any means on the conference because we've seen this team can lose games to anyone. But you also start seeing that, all right, maybe things can change a little bit. Maybe things can turn around and Arizona can maybe start to get a little bit of a distance between them because, again, Oregon's dropped 3 of 4. And Arizona has now gone into Oregon and beat them handily. That was the other nice thing. It wasn't like this was a nip and tuck game. This game was essentially 8 to 14 points throughout. Arizona kind of kept them at Hands Bay, whatever. So that's to me the biggest competition. Maybe Colorado, but those are the two teams. USC stinks. That one really has surprised me. I thought that this would be a good USC team. Andy Enfield has not done a good job with the squad. Mick Cronin's squad stinks. ASU stinks. Oregon State, bleh. All those schools. So again, that's kind of the 3-horse race. Maybe Utah factors into a certain degree, but Arizona's just got to take care of business. Generally, I like making fun of pollsters because of where they put, West Coast teams because they're clearly not watching them. But I can't really put down any pollster right now because Arizona just has to take care of Arizona. If Arizona takes care of Arizona, then Arizona is going to be just fine. But that's kind of where we're at, though. So Arizona needs to be able to take care of business. All right, now, coming up tomorrow, we're going to talk some Arizona football, my friends. The Big 12 schedule is out. And not only is the Big 12 schedule out, it's going to be a lot of fun. I am all in on the Big 12, as many of you might know. And I think that Arizona's got a good chance of winning the Big 12. So again, there's a lot to like about possibilities of Arizona basketball and football moving forward. But Arizona football is what we are going to talk about tomorrow because, again, want to break down that schedule, look for the wins, look for the losses, and maybe talk, just kind of break it all down for you. But as always, very, very much appreciate you guys making Locked On Wildcats your first listen of the day. I'm your host, Mike Luke. Again, there's no better time to back the A. We will be back tomorrow with you talking some Arizona football. Have a great rest of your Thursday.